what was the big problem you were trying to solve with the program?
There were a lot of kind of little problems adding up. I think if I were to point to a few of them, it would be a very disjointed sleep schedule. I was kind of going to bed at really random times, mostly late, and consequently waking up quite late as well, and kind of leading me to a cycle of never feeling like I had enough daytime to do everything. And it was, I think there's a famous term for it with like revenge bedtime procrastination, where you don't feel like you had enough time to unwind during the day, so you do it at night, but then because you do that, you wake up late, and you don't have enough time, and then you do that, and it's really just a cycle. So helped me a lot, and that's one of the reasons I approached you. I think that was causing a lot of different things. Other than that, other kinds of things where I felt very disorganized and didn't really have a plan to what I was doing. So all those little things added up
Okay,
for me to
got
do
it.
that. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. And what did you love the most about the program?
There were a lot of things. I mean, so it's really hard to pick a specific thing. I think if I were to break it down to two things that I really liked outside of, like, that are maybe better than other workshop programs that I've seen in the past. And I haven't participated in that many, but I know of them a little bit. Was the in-between session support. I think that the sessions are very good and they're nice on their own. It relies on you a lot to take those in and to work with them, which is fine. It has to be something that you do. But some support from your end on kind of how this is going, or what kind of roadblocks you're running into, and then kind of tackling those bit by bit through messaging. That was really useful. I think that was really good. Actually, I think that's definitely unique. And the other one was, I think, the sessions themselves. While they were also very good, I think on your end you were quite insightful in figuring out why I was potentially making certain decisions, or what kind of background had led me to behave in a certain way. So I think you had a lot of big insightful ideas that I could go kind of, like I never thought of it from that angle. Let me kind of reframe what I'm thinking here, kind of in that way, and I think that helped a lot.
Okay, that's great to hear. And what kind of results did you get from going through this program?
In a broad sense, I feel like I have more control generally over what I'm doing. And it doesn't mean that I'm like perfect now after the program. That's not at all true. I think I still sometimes will do some of the things that I've been doing before, but I think the framing of it in my brain is a bit different. I think one of the key things that I've learned from you is that, life and how I used to think before, maybe, is that, what I thought before was like life is like a chaotic mess and you make do what you can. Now it's sort of the complete opposite, where like life is planned with a bit of a framework, and yes, chaos exists there, but that's okay. That's fine, because it exists around kind of your plan of it, essentially. And not to say that all of life is entirely planned, but it's just as part of your schedule, and then therefore you have more control over your own life. Isn't that sort of one of the things that has come out? So every little thing around that has gotten a bit better. So bedtimes and getting up times have gotten more consistent than before. Obviously, it's all work in progress, but more consistent than before. One thing that is like a slam dunk and seems like should be a small thing, but isn't at all, is I actually eat breakfast every day now, which I used to never do. So that was kind of a big win for me.
Mm-hmm. How did that change things for you?
It changed things because I had, I think, more energy to deal with things in the morning. I think the act of eating it and doing it, it's almost, you have time to prepare it and eat it, which means you're not immediately just waking up and rushing into work. So that's a factor. I think another factor is how it's pushed other nutrition. So times are like you eat and then you do some work, and then it's lunch, and you do some work, and then dinner is like not obscenely late. Because you sort of like set up your body to be awake now. I think there are a lot of nutritional things in this program that we can get to another question if you like that help overall without quite knowing that they would. But there's a lot of maybe another way to frame this is like there's a lot of things that were making things difficult for me that I didn't know were. So like I didn't know what I didn't know, and so there was a lot of good nutritional stuff here that once they started implementing it has helped, and all of them are like baby steps. When combined together, they kind of do help more wholesomely. And a small example of this was breakfast. Is I would have a coffee every day, but I wouldn't necessarily or ever have breakfast. And it's kind of tough on your gut, as I think you know. But now that I do it the other way, over time, it's like I notice, there you go, don't have an upset stomach as often in the afternoon anymore. I wonder why. And so little things like that begin to add up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I remember when you started taking magnesium. So what did you share with me about that?
Oh yeah, that was a big game changer for things like exercise or for hikes. It kind of feels like cheating because it's like I don't know if that's exactly what I said, but I remember the recovery to it was like insane. I basically started looking into it more after you told me about it, and I heard it's quite good for recovery after like a big workout, like a hike. So I thought, yeah, I'll take this up. I'll take this before a hike. Let me try it. I'll try both ways. I'll try before and try after. And both ways were the same. But basically, I did some like 8 hours of hiking, to which I should be horribly sore, and then I wasn't sore the next day at all. I thought this is weird. It's almost like I didn't go for the hike whatsoever. So yeah, stuff like that. And I wouldn't even have. I don't think I'd ever even heard of just taking magnesium for that purpose before ever. So
cool.
I think that applies to a lot of macronutrients stuff that I wasn't quite aware of that now I am, and now are on my mind and something I'm thinking about more consciously when thinking about what to eat and what you're eating.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like that science, the circadian science and the nutrient science, kind of set you up to look into that more.
Yeah, it really did. It really did. I now think about nutrition and the science behind what I'm eating, and the science behind when I'm sleeping and things like that. A whole lot more than I had thought of before. And this, I think, brings back to the whole control thing, where before I didn't feel like I had enough control to even maybe attempt that, or that wasn't on my mind whatsoever. But now, as I'm wrestling more control over things, I can wrestle control over that as well. And so I'm just going more and more spheres of my life will become more. I don't want to say under my command. That's a very formal way of saying it, but they're in my hands anyway. The more and more of my life is in my hands versus outside of my hands.
That's great to hear. Where do you think you would be today if you didn't go through this process?
Largely the same as before, where I would probably more burnt out than before because I think I'm busier than I was then. So probably even sleeping even less or sleeping at very disjointed times. Probably never be able to iron out times where I'm not working or feel I'm probably feeling guilty every time that I wasn't working because I hadn't gotten enough done, and I wouldn't have enough done because I would never be sleeping and doing things right. So it'd just be a mess, really.
Gotcha. Thank you. And as someone who's a leader that has a team to lead and work with, how did the program influence your leadership?
From that, kind of back to the control conversation a little bit, I've been taking more time to plan and be more mindful of where I'm spending my time, to be less reactionary and to be more strategic. So I think where I do that in life now, where I'm a bit less reactionary with my time and plan things more. Similar at work, more take more of an approach where I will block times off to do certain tasks. I'll block times off where I'm not distracted by notifications. and just take even block time off for planning the blocks that I'll be blocking, which sounds insane when you say it out loud, but it's very useful. Just taking a bit of time on Monday right in the beginning to just plan your entire week. And I say a bit of time, really, it's like an hour. Really just plan your whole week, or the best that you can. Things will come up, of course, but do the best that you can at planning your whole week to see kind of where you're going. Do big picture stuff where you decide what 2 things you'll do that week and actually do them, and rather than just being scatterbrained all the time, trying to tackle a whole lot of different small things that you don't end up tackling half of and feeling bad about it afterwards.
Yeah, no, totally. That sounds great. What about your career overall? How did the program help with the career?
We did a good planning session together where we did a nice 5-year plan near the end of the program that I found really useful. The question of where do you see yourself in 5 years gets thrown around a lot, and I never really have a good answer to it, or might have a very wishy-washy answer. And the truth is, I had too much more than a little aspirational ways here and there. But it was nice because we sat down and we made a plan of it. You kind of forced out of me what exactly is the vision that I see. And it's both professional and personal. And not only that, but then we made a plan of, okay, well, how do we get there in small increments? And I think the big key is that you maybe put it into my calendar. And it's not just like 5 years from now you'll be this. Which is also important that it happened, but in little increments, like, okay, so 3 months from now, where are you going to start with that? 6 months from now, where's that going to be? 2 years from now, where's that going to be? And so I think laying that all out. Well, there's 2 things. I think it makes it possible because you sort of, well, you've committed to it in a way. So in your own brain, it's sort of like, okay, I'm actually doing it now, instead of it being this aspirational thing you may not do. And the second thing is that it makes it look less, let's make it more achievable, less insurmountable. Because you break it down to things that, I can, classic thing, I can start with exercising twice a week. That's fine. It only has to be half an hour. I can do that. The little things, it's a benign example, but little things like that, they'll add up, and things like very achievable at that point.
That's awesome. That's great to hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What would you say to the people who are watching this right now, but are maybe on the fence about booking a call to learn more about the program?
What would I say? I think a part of it, my earlier comment about maybe on the fence, you think maybe what you need to get your life in order. I think when things are burning out, when things are going a bit bad, you might think that in theory, there's a lot of, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, and once I do that, everything will be kind of in order. But it's hard to get there in a step-by-step process. And also, the things that you think that you should be doing aren't actually all of the things that you need. There's a lot of things that you don't know that you need to do that once you start doing will help you along in other areas. And for me, my examples of this are numerous little things. I mean, I kind of understood the maybe that time part of it, but I don't think I took it that seriously. Because I thought I could be effective at whatever hour of the day it is, or however much sleep I've had. And I think there's definitely a lot of hustle culture around you can be effective at less hours of sleep. It's almost like a good thing to do. Right? It's almost like bragging rights. The more work you can do with the less you sleep. But the truth is, that sleep played a factor. Nutrition plays a factor. How you structure your day plays a factor. Going for a walk in the morning for 10 minutes, completely benign. No, I would have never thought that would help me in any way. Turns out it sets your body up very nicely to take advantage of the day, to know to be awake. So that's a good example of something I would have never thought, but something that I need to do. Turns out breakfast is more important than I thought. Turns out thinking more about nutrition. So it's a lot of that. I would say give it a shot because you don't quite know what you're missing, and you can't quite do it yourself if you don't know what you're missing.